This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the dawn, and welcome to a couple of hyenas that are scrounging and picking up the scraps of a pride of lion that has killed something here in the night. Hello, everybody. It is a wonderful morning to be out and about. It is still raining, but we've got two hyenas. One of them looks like June. The other one I couldn't tell you at the moment, but it's not only me. We're going to have Lauren in the house this morning, looking after the dam camp. Deirdre out in Tswalu Kalahari, as well as Angus out in Ambionpinda. And we're going to have Mike in Pridelands if the rain clears, as well as Dan over in Ambient in Gala. Our plan this morning is just to bumble around, find some tracks and take it from there. Now, definitely something happened here. The lion tracks have come in. Rexon, one of the guides from Djuma, is out and about, and he's been following some tracks, and the lions have gone west. But on that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Good morning again. Welcome to a very wet and overcast Djuma Private Game Reserve, where the temperature this morning is 23 degrees Celsius, 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and hyenas are busy cleaning up what looks like the remainder of a kill. All we can basically see there is some stomach content. We haven't really checked it out. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Fogwitch, joined by Sebastian Rombi on camera, and as always, excited to have you with us on board. If you have any questions or comments, send them through to #WildEarth on Twitter. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream using the all-important @FC. And if you are younger than 18, get your parents or guardians to send through your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Don't forget to go and register on the Wild Earth website, where you can head over to the live safari page where you can submit your questions there. Okay, so I was saying before, Rexon was out and about just before me. He found some tracks of lions heading in this direction. We found those tracks as well, and then a very excitable hyena came running in, and you can see the disturbance on the ground around where this hyena is. You can see that something's taken place there, and the lion pride, I'm not sure who it might be, they've come out, they came in from Arathusa, Simbambili, and they've gone straight back again. So they came in, made a kill, and off they went, and all that these hyenas have got left is probably some bone shards, a couple bits of meat and blood on the floor, and leftover residual smells. And that seems to be what a lot of the hyenas in this area feed on. And it is where, essentially, hyenas developed in the greater scheme of things. Edmund, it is a lot of scavenging for hyenas. It is something they do a lot of. I haven't personally seen them actively hunt on Djuma, although when I was driving around the other day, I saw one physically chase a scrub hare that bolted out of the way. But the grass swallowed both scrub hare and hyena alike. But if there's any bones of anything left behind, they would be able to pick them up. But right now, all we've got is some disturbed grass, probably some rumen content, and probably some patches of blood. I don't see a single bone, which means they probably caught a young impala and probably a female, but it's hard to say. And if it is the Unkuhuma pride, an impala is not going to go very far with them. If it is the Telemati pride, same story there. Okay, well, it is raining all over the Lowveld. Let's go and have a look at today's weather forecast.
Good morning, everyone. You may not see my face, but I am more than sure you will recognize my voice. My name is Lauren, and I have myself on camera. Lauren is on camera. We are looking at the dam cam feed today. So I'll be playing with all the controls here and just slowly looking to see what we can see around the dam cam. I'm slightly jealous of Steve. He's sitting with Intima. Brand new mummy Intima. So goodness knows what they found there, but they've obviously found something. It seems to be the remainder of the lions. And of course, the den is really, really not far away from quarantine. So obviously they picked up on the scent, and lo and behold, they're coming to investigate. Now, I think we have a grey heron here. Doesn't actually look too much. Wow, live kill, first thing in the morning, 6:05 here in Djuma Private Game Reserve. Wow. Now, sometimes when you see a heron from this angle, it doesn't actually look like a grey heron. But if you look at the chest and the neck, you can see those two long black stripes, and that's a real key feature of the grey heron. And they're remarkable birds. You find them all over the world. They're not sort of indigenous to any country in Africa, but they're fantastic. Let's see if we can get a bit of close-up view. I wonder what fish that just caught. Fishermen in the Maldives actually watch these birds specifically to learn from them. Miley, I wouldn't know. You get a different sort of range of fish that you will find in the dams in South Africa. And the larger fish, for example, will be your catfish. They are the ones that have your sort of barbels. Really unique barbels because they're often found in very murky dams where they can't see anyway. So they do have vision, but they can't use their vision. The visibility is next to nothing, and therefore the barbels on a catfish are sensory barbels. So it gives them that sort of really unique appearance, but it means that they can use some specialized sensory cells to, well, find food for themselves. They don't need to rely on their eyesight, which is really, really unique feature of the catfish. But you will also get different types of catfish, mainly the sharp tooth and the blunt tooth and the silver. You can get tigerfish in some of the dams around South Africa. I'm not necessarily seeing this one. You can get Mozambique tilapia. You can get lots of different types of tilapia, actually. You can find mottled eels, African mottled. Oh, another one, another one. Wow. You can also find rainbow killifish. Now, I'm not saying again in this dam, but these are the sort of freshwater fish that you will find in bodies of water all around the African continent. Now, this is going to be a challenge for me as my camera skills trying to follow this moving animal. Highly mobile animal. But you can see how slow it's moving. This is part of the fishing technique. The faster they move, the more disturbance they're going to bring to the water. That water column is then going to trigger off vibrations. You know what it's like when you put your hand in a puddle, or you even just put your hand in the bath. It's going to have that ripple effect. And that's what the fish can sense. They can sense it in many different ways. And as soon as they sense that, they know that there's a predator nearby. He also doesn't want to disturb the sediment too much here. That's another reason that he's moving so slowly through the water. Another one! Sir 50, yes, you're saying they're great little hunters. Although, to be fair, Sir 50, they're not actually that little. They're quite big birds. They can almost reach 100 centimetres tall, and they come in at 1.5 kilograms. But yes, you're right. They're incredible hunters. And going back to that ripple effect in the water, fish, even sharks and manta rays, I'm talking about the entire fish category, bony fish and cartilaginous fish, they actually have a lateral line. And this is a fantastic sort of tool that they have. And it's literally a line, but it's a line of very, very special pores, jelly-filled pores. And it contains sensory cells. So what this does is detect pressure changes, and sort of vibrations is not the right word underwater, but pressure change is. And they can detect that to know if there's any threats nearby. Can you imagine? Oh, another one. This is one hungry heron. I think this is the record for the most live hunts in one drive. So when we talk about senses a lot, I always say that humans say we have sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. But then you think of a fish, they have something called a lateral line. It's a system. And it's very, very unique to aquatic organisms, something that we can barely even begin to get our head around. And those specialized sensory cells are actually called neuromasts. And that's how they're able to survive underwater. Okay, so I'm going to practice my camera skills here on the dam cam, and for now, we're going to send you across to the beautiful sunrise.
Good morning from Tswalu. We've got a beautiful sunrise along the Karannaberg Mountains over there, and I'm Deirdre, back with you again for a while, and on camera with me this morning is Morgan. Morgan, say good morning. All right, so our plan is to actually follow up along the base of that nice big mountain over there to see if we can find some cheetah. There was an update from yesterday evening, so we are heading in that direction, hoping to find some of those spotty cats. But what a beautiful morning, and I hear you've already had heron kills. That's amazing. But, good luck, Lauren, and her camera skills. I'm glad I don't have to try that. I prefer the driver's seat. Just look at that beautiful, beautiful sunrise. It's going to pop up over that mountain shortly. So don't forget to ask us questions at #WildEarth and write at FC at the bottom, and we'll answer. Hopefully answer what we can. Bridget is commenting, beautiful Tswalu landscape, absolutely. I just can't believe the change in the time frame with all those volumes of rain, and literally from the winter season when it was just red soil to the grass cover that we're seeing now. And it's a few more months and it'll change back to that. It's just absolutely stunning. There you can see some of that iconic Tswalu red soil. So we're going to start moving to head towards those mountains to try and follow up on those cheetah. So join us. We're going to just pop over the dunes here, and there should be some actually quite scenic views as we go down and over the dune. You can see the nice blues and pinks on the western horizon there. So we've been hearing lots of button quails, common quails in the grass. They're actually quite difficult to see at the moment with the grass cover. It's quite a challenge to find some of the small things. We were hoping to come past one of the little bat-eared fox dens and see if they're still around, but we haven't quite got there yet. So in these dune areas that we drive through here, we're generally tending to look for eland, gemsbok, sometimes even the little steenbok, but we don't really manage to get them on camera too often. They're too quick. They dash off very quickly. And yeah, even the sometimes if we're lucky, a red hartebeest. We haven't seen one of those for a while. And lots of the animals have got small ones as well. We've been seeing some small wildebeest, there's some ostrich running on the dune there at the top there. Morgan, you got them? I'll just stop for you. You can see the nice little silhouette there of the 3 ostriches running. That looks like, at this distance, it looks like all females. I'm just trying to see with the... No, it doesn't. I can't actually see the colours properly. They're quite far away from us. So 3 ostriches, we'll go with that. I'm not going to stick my neck out. At least my neck's shorter than theirs. And guess which ones. I can't see them. They're just a little bit too far. So that's not uncommon to see as a group of ostriches together. Tends to have that it's one male and then a group of females, but you also do get groups of males. And sometimes, if they just keep coming out the bushes, don't go over the dune. Oh, no. That might be the... Oh, last one. No, they've gone over the dune. Literally right behind the bush. I was going to say you can see a dominant male ostrich generally if they have their tail up. That shows a more dominant male ostrich than when their tails are down, and I was hoping to see that, but now that they've popped over the dune, it's a bit difficult. So we'll carry on. Maybe we'll see them on the other side. But yeah, for them at the moment, it's like Christmas. They've got so much food. They're eating lots of grass, beetles, insects. It's sort of such a wide variety diet if you're an ostrich.
Welcome to Pinda. It's a beautiful morning here on the reserve, and we have come to a watering hole. I wanted to just come past here and see what we could find, and I was actually hoping to spot a pair of Wahlberg's eagles that have been nesting, and up in a beautiful rock fig we have found one. So they've been around here in the past few weeks very, very often, and it's likely that they're nesting in one of the taller trees just off to our left. Some things to look out for when trying to identify a Wahlberg's eagle. You'll notice that when it does turn its head there, you can see there's a slight crest at the back of its head. And one of the things that does help you identify it as opposed to some of the other brown eagles. It can be quite tricky. I'm Angus Fitton, and behind the camera we have Simon this morning. And I think our plan for this morning, we'll head off and try and look for a herd of buffalo. I'm just looking back up in the tree, and as I've turned around, it looks like that Wahlberg's eagle's just flown away. Maybe we can try and get a shot of those buffalo off to our right, Simon, now that we've lost our bird. You can really see there's beautiful scenery. There's also some clouds that are just starting to lift. It was quite a cool, misty morning. But I presume that later on today it'll be very, very hot. You can see the herd of buffalo now. And they just seem to be grazing in the open just behind some fever trees. So we're going to carry on going and try and get a little bit closer to them, and hopefully we'll be with you very soon.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill. The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
making?
This is the first leucistic zebra I have ever seen in my life.
Oh, here comes a lion. Run, little guy. Go on.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Has it just pretended to be dead? That is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me. It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
Look at that little zebra about to be born. There's the head. Oh, you clever mare. Well done.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Welcome back to Phinda. We haven't actually had time to start moving just yet. But we're just going to sit here and enjoy the sounds and the scenery around this waterhole. It is quite a unsubstantial one at the moment. There has been a lot of rain here at Phinda recently, but it seems like this particular area hasn't seen quite as much as the others. This watering hole is a lot emptier than some of the others, but hopefully we get a little bit more over the next few months or so before the rainy season's over. Katie, you are right. The scenery is gorgeous. It is probably one of my favorite places on the whole of Phinda, just because it's so open and it's very, very special to be in a reserve where there's so many different types of habitats. And these open areas obviously help in terms of spotting animals from afar, so that's how we spotted this herd of buffalo. It's also quite hilly as well, so you can see things from higher places. It looks like those buffalo are just grazing, and they probably have been resting at some point during the night, but they do move around and eat throughout the night and the day. So as we watch these buffalo graze, we're going to send you over to Dan, who has another grazer.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ngala. Now, we've just left camp as the rain has stopped, and we've managed to find this beautiful elephant bull. Before he ducks behind the bush, have a look at the size of his tusks, particularly that left one. Look at the curve in it. It's quite amazing, actually. He's got some incredible genetics, some really beautiful tusks, and they will keep growing as well. Look at the size of his head. Super tall. I mean, there's no other elephants to compare him to around, but he is very, very tall, almost standing as tall as those bushes and those trees around there. Very happy this morning, just moving through the grassy area, feeding on some grass, dropping the not so palatable pieces. Just keeps going. But good morning, everyone. I'm Daniel Fisher, and on camera this morning we've got Odie. So it was raining a little bit this morning, and the rivers come come up quite a lot, so it's a bit tricky to cross it in certain areas. So I'm going to carry on heading, looking towards that den site of that lioness and her 3 cubs. I'm wondering if she hasn't maybe made a kill around there, and maybe she's encouraged some of the pride members to come through that side. But for now, let's spend a bit of time with this elephant bull, having a look at what he's doing. I mean, he initially started underneath the marula tree, picking up the marula fruits, as lots of the elephants do. Let me try to just roll back a little bit so we can have a look at his tusks again. Let's see if he's doing a really good job at keeping it in frame. This should put us into a position. A little bit more. Let me just keep going a little bit, because it looks like he's going to keep walking as well. That's happy there, Odie? Cool. So very relaxed, just moving super slowly, feeding on this amazing grass that's around at the moment. He's moved from that marula tree now to feeding on grass. There's so much moisture as well in the grass. He's probably not even going to have to go and have a drink at any point today unless it heats up significantly. There is quite a lot of bad weather and some rain forecast as well, so we'll keep an eye out on that. Listen to those ears. I mean, they're huge, and you see how they flap like that? I mean, particularly this ear that's closest to us. I mean, he's quite a big bull, and that's something that you can look out for. There are other things to look out for when trying to ID. Matthew, this is an incredibly beautiful elephant, and I haven't seen him, I haven't been here for quite some time. I haven't seen him around on the property, but his size is one to remember. And also, if you have a look at his ears, I mean, he's just turned away now, but in his further ear, there's quite a significant little cut. Even on this closer ear, you can see right along the edges, there are these small little cuts and little flaps of skin that are flapping out. Those are good ways to try and ID this elephant, and that might have happened when he was a bit younger. And I mean, even that tree or that little bush that's kind of blocking him at the moment. Let's see if he comes out on the other side. When he's younger, and even yesterday we were watching quite a few smaller elephants running through the grass below the level of the grass. And if there's a bit of chaos in an area, maybe a bull comes through to put some pressure onto some elephant calves. If he's running quite quickly through the bush and maybe he gets a stick or something that's caught in his ear, that will cause these rips. It's quite amazing, actually. Just he's popping out into the other side of the bush, and all you can see is that glowing white tusk. And that shape of it is quite distinct. And at this time of the year, they're particularly white. And the reason for that is all the rain that we've been having. I mean, they use their tusks an awful lot. I mean, whether it's digging up roots or bulbs or breaking trees, scraping off bark, that has quite an effect on these tusks, and it can actually turn them quite a brown, darkish color. But when it rains, that'll clean it right off, and that's why they're glowing so white. Have a look at the size difference in the tusks as well. The right-hand one is a little bit shorter and a little bit more worn than the one on the left, and that'll be because he favors that right-hand side. Look at how that trunk's right in the grass. Doesn't even look like he's picking up. Oh no, he is breaking grass there. Kind of swishing all that sand at the bottom off. Then putting it in his mouth. And then he'll very likely drop those little sandy pieces at the end. Or is he going to eat it? Let's see what he does. Chewing, and drops it. You see, he doesn't want that not so nice tasting and palatable pieces. He just drops that part. He just wants the fluorescence of the grass at the end. And I mean, even if you have a look at his head, like the top of his head particularly, I mean, just his size will tell you that he's an elephant bull. But can you see how it's quite rounded? Like from where his tusks are in his trunk all the way up to the top of his head, it's very rounded. If he's in a herd of females, I mean, the size will give him away that he's a bull. But that head can be a great way to just tell the sexes between elephants. I mean, the females have got quite square heads, and his head being very flat and curved tells us that he's a bull. So I'm going to keep my morning going. I'm going to go and head towards that den site on the edge of the river where that lioness has been keeping her cubs. Let's see what we can find there. But in the meantime, I'm going to send you over to some giraffe.
Welcome back to Tswalu. So we found 4 young male giraffe here in the dunes. They've just been having some breakfast there on that camel thorn tree, and now they're just just walking slowly to the next one. So they're all male, and they're all actually quite young males. So, interestingly, the two on the far left, if Morgan pans to those two, those two, they might think about a little bit of a fight. There was one he was sort of pushing a little bit, trying to see if the other one would be responsive so that they could have some fighting practice, but the other one just ignored him, so he walked away. But it's so nice to be able to see a giraffe all the way from its head to its tail at the moment, even its toes. So they don't mind. We find them mostly in the dune areas at Tswalu. They'll move between the beautiful camel thorn trees as well as the grey camel thorn. Leanne's asking, what's the largest journey of giraffe that I've ever seen? I've actually seen 22 together that I can remember, and it was on Tswalu, and it was all males. It was, I called it an AGM, an annual giraffe meeting, but it was, 22 is the most that I've ever seen. And then recently, coming through one of the valleys, we were driving along, and it was about 11 of them, and they were running, and just to stop the vehicle and actually hear 11 adult giraffe running, that sheer sound, that ka-doo, 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 as those big feet hit the sand. I mean, because they were running, the impression of their tracks were probably about an inch in the sand as they were running through the valley. It was a really impressive sight. You don't often get to see running giraffe, but that was a group of about 11. So 22, 11, that tends to be, for me, what I've seen, but it'll be interesting to see what the viewers, what's their largest number that they've ever seen of giraffe together. They can pop that down in the comments section. He's just seen something, and I can't see. There were some springbuck in the area earlier, but not where he's looking. So we'll just... Oh, no. He's lost interest, so it must be something quite small. Giraffe are often a very good indicator of showing you if there's predators around in an area. Ivan is asking the question, how long do giraffe live for? So in the book it says plus minus 23 years is pretty much roundabout. But obviously it would also depend on the circumstances of where they live. You know, two mature bulls that are fighting, one can possibly kill the other. So then they don't necessarily get all the way to 23. But also the content of the leaves and things that they eat is what wears their teeth down. And normally it'll be as a result of the fact that they no longer have sort of much left on their teeth. I wonder, do I need to... Yeah, you still got them. So just watch the way they walk. 2 left legs, 2 right legs, 2 left legs, 2 right legs, which is generally very different compared to the way other animals walk. But when we talk about running giraffe, they'll run 2 front legs, 2 back legs, so their back legs almost overtake them. And it's a huge stride that they have when they are running away, so they can move quite quickly if need be. I'm just going to go... We're going to lose sight of them just behind a bush. I'm just going to go forward for you, then we can carry on having a look at them. So Janet says she's seen 20. That's awesome. 20 is also a really, really good number. Actually, in my very, very early stages of my career, they said to me that if you sneak up on a group of giraffe and you lie down and sort of every now and again sort of kick your legs in the air, and they get very curious. And I was, in my training years, we had to go and walk all the roads of the reserve to learn the property. So I was out on a walk and I saw a group of giraffe and I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to try this. So I did. I lay down and I kicked my feet in the air. And within probably about 15, 20 minutes, I had, it was so many years ago, I can't remember, but it was a big group. It was more than 10. That eventually I had them probably all about 50 meters. Maybe some a little bit closer, all staring at me like, what is that? And you could see the confusion on their faces, and you'd see the bravery. Sort of the one would say, it's your turn. No, it's your turn. Holly is saying 40 giraffe in the Kalahari. That's impressive. At least in these big, large, open areas, you can actually see quite a big number. But 40, I think, yeah. Hopefully, I think that's the morning record. So that one's he stopped at a grey camel thorn. He's busy feeding on the grey camel thorn. They're slowly going up and over the dune. So we will start losing visual of them at some point. What a beautiful scene. And the monotonous larks are just calling. So as they go over, we're going to go and continue searching for our spotty cheetah.
Welcome back, everyone. You are live at Phinda, and we have just found one of the most endangered mammals on the planet. This is a black rhino. And we've got a beautiful view of it. We're on a hillside just above it, so it seems to be quite relaxed. Probably doesn't even know that we're here. Usually they're very, very shy. And obviously we don't want to get too close to it because it's likely that it might run away. It looked like to me earlier that it was scratching, but I actually don't really see a scratching post. It was swaying back and forth. So let's just watch it for a little bit longer. See if it carries doing that. It was quite strange. You can see on its side there's a big circular area that looks quite raw. So often with black rhino, especially here in Zululand, you'll find that there's a type of parasite that often attaches itself to their skin on that part of their body. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I'll try and find out a little bit more about it. You can really see now the difference between a black rhino and the white rhino that we saw yesterday afternoon at Phinda. If you look at his lip, you'll see now that he's facing us, it's got that very triangular shape. Almost looks like a bird's beak. And that lip helps him to browse, so black rhino don't eat grass at all. Jane, you are right, this is such a treat. We don't get to see them very often. I mentioned how endangered they are. So obviously they're difficult to see out in the wild. And I think we are lucky here at Phinda because we do see them not very often, but probably more so than a lot of other places around the world. Definitely more so. So you'll often find black rhino on their own like this. This one looks like a mature male, so he's probably territorial. And this is likely the area that he would patrol and prevent other territorial males from coming into. You can see that this kind of habitat, you see this grassland mixed with small shrubs, is perfect for them. These types of shrubs are... Oh, he's scent marking there, so I mentioned territorial. Did you see that spray that he just shot out? That's typical of them marking their territory. It's not really typical behavior of him doing it though. Usually they scratch the ground first. He didn't seem to do that. and then they'd spray their scent on top of it. Trevor has asked if rhino fights are fatal. I think it is possible, Trevor, but usually they aren't. So, as with a lot of the other bigger animals, they're quite rare to see rhinos fighting. Just because usually size matters. So, if the rhinos are matched in size or similarly sized, then would be a case where they'd fight. And after a while, usually one of them will give up to prevent, obviously, a fatality. But yes, Trevor, it can happen, but not very common. You can really see that saddle-shaped back now. If any of you were with us yesterday afternoon when we saw those white rhino, I mentioned how a white rhino has a very prominent ridge on its back. And now you can see that with a black rhino, it's more of a saddle-shaped, more of like a horse-like back. So, we're going to send you over to Lauren, who's found a bird perched on a tree.
It's not a different bird, it's the same bird, but I just thought the views were spectacular. It's perched right at the top of this tree here, and the sort of area behind is looking northeast. So it's looking into Buffelshoek and the sort of northern eastern corner of the reserve here. Now, for being quite heavy birds, this is impressive that they just perch themselves, because the foot structure of a grey heron is more adapted to sort of wading. That's what we were watching earlier. The bird was wading through the water ever so slowly. But here, it's utilised these specialised feet to perch onto the edge of the branch here. Now, I wanted to introduce a bird to you that I'm sure many of you have heard of, but I've been doing a lot of research into. And this is, in fact, the shoebill. And why I'm mentioning the shoebill is because you call it the shoe-billed stork. And it's also called the whalehead. I don't know who came up with that name, but I'm glad that it's not the name that stuck, or the whale-headed stork. But it's actually not a stork. So due to morphology, the appearance, it was thought to be very closely related to storks and herons, which is what we're looking at right now. And the sort of group of birds that the storks belong to are the Ciconiforms. And then they looked a little bit deeper into DNA. You can't just base morphology to group animals together. So once they looked at the genetic evidence, it was realised that it's actually not too closely related to the storks or the herons. It may look like them, but they're not related. They're more closely related with the pelicaniforms, which of course is the group of birds that the pelicans belong to. And the shoebills are just absolutely gorgeous. Very unique birds, extremely large, very endangered, and I guess maybe it looks like it's got a shoe stuck to its face, and that's why it was called the shoebill. But they're only really found in special countries throughout Africa, from about South Sudan down to Zambia, and they're very, very rare. If you head to Uganda, you can go to a place near Lake Victoria called Mabamba Swamps, I think. Oh, quickly over to Ngala.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, I've just come to that spot where we were yesterday, where that lioness was, and I could hear the suckling. And for the first time, I've got a little view of this tiny little cub. Oh, look at its head, just popping over the grass. I've kept my distance now as well, just to try to give it the benefit of the doubt. It's still super young, around 2 months old. Look how inquisitive it is, though. Look at that. Looking around. There's another one that's in the road, one of its cousins, and it's behind the bush for now. But I wonder if there isn't maybe a carcass around here that maybe the mother of that small little one has got. Actually looks like a second one might be popping its head up on the right-hand side. So if the mother has caught something and hidden it here, that'll attract the rest of the lions or the rest of the pride to come through. Oh, is it going to come down the bank? Oh, there's definitely two. This is going to be awesome if they do come down. It's early in the morning, they're wide awake, and I'm sure quite playful, particularly with that older cousin. That older cousin might start to want to play with them, but mom's going to be very cautious. I mean, at that size, these cubs are incredibly vulnerable. Odie says you can see 3 of them. Let's see, I mean, look at this steep slope there. Looks like they want to come down. Oh my goodness, here they come. Showing themselves amazingly. Look how small they are. Look how full their bellies are as well. That's awesome. Full of milk. They're not quite eating meat just yet. Mom will be starting. Oh, there's the third one as well. This is insane. This is the first look at these little ones that I've had. Yesterday I just heard them. But this is quite amazing. That one looks like it's already got quite a significant scar on its back. Sorry. It does. Looks like it's got quite a significant scar on the back. I mean, that'll be a great way to ID that little one. It will probably be like that for a long time. I mean, there is a good chance as it grows up. Look at it playing with the sticks. Look at how the black ears and even that black tip to the tail stands out so much. You'll see when mom hides them in these thick bushes, they'll try and avoid showing those. This is quite incredible, isn't it? Coming down that steep bank early in the morning. I'm sure mom is lying somewhere close by, giving them the confidence to move around quite freely. I wonder if I can edge forward a little bit to get that bush out the way. And I'm going to do this as gently and as cautiously as I can and watch their response. At this age, they can be quite nervous. They seem to be quite confident though. They seem to be exactly where they were. Oh, there's mom. That's why they've got the confidence that they do. Let's just stop here for a moment. Look at that. So that one tried to go back up the bank. This is quite an amazing sighting. Super playful. And they only really come out and do this when mom's around at this age. Otherwise, they lie dead still, hidden. Have a look at that river in the background as well. It's come up an incredible amount last night. And mom just lying there, super proud, super comfortable. On the sand, with the rain that we've had, the grass is quite uncomfortable. How's that for a shot, in fact? How's that for a shot over the river, hey? What an amazing spot. What a good den site. I mean, this female better be careful if it doesn't rain too much, because if it does come up, her cubs could even get washed away. But it seems like she's quite well educated about the weather at the moment and seeing how the river's coming up. Look at the little ones. It looks like they're trying to play with mom's tail. You'll often see her kind of flick her tail up a little bit, try and like cause a distraction and cause them to get a bit excited. Look at that. I wonder how that little one got that scar on its back. The one that's busy being played with on its back has got that big scar. I mean, I don't think it's from its little sibling that's biting like that. Maybe from a hyena or something that came through. There was a dead hyena that I'm sure this lioness killed. Even that one going up the bank, she looks quite pale. Got a little scar on the back of her back, on the left-hand side there. Aren't they just the cutest little things? Super playful. Look at the one's head closest to us as well. Can you see it's almost got like spots on it? And quite distinct markings, which they will grow out of. Even on the back of that one in the middle, can you see how dark it is and kind of mottled? That'll help blend this lion in and kind of break its shape up in the thick bushes. Because they are so vulnerable at this age. When they're hidden, hopefully hidden well enough, they shouldn't be at too much of a risk to anything coming through. But mom will have to leave them for days, if not weeks at a time. And when she's doing that, they're very vulnerable. If they start to move around, play, and call like they are, or they are now, they'll present themselves, and they'll present themselves to danger. Even a snake, a bird, other lions, hyenas, even a leopard that came through here and found these little cubs might even end up killing them. And that's kind of just eliminating competition in the predator hierarchy. They're kind of just using all this excess energy that they've got as well at the moment under the watchful eye of mom. I mean, you see how full their bellies are as well. I'm sure they've been suckling already a large portion of the morning. You see how heavily mom's breathing as well. I'm sure there's food not too far away, or at least she's eaten last night. Super playful. Are those little tails almost working as counterbalances when they're running up and down the steep hill. Oh, using mom as a counterbalance there. She's not worried, huh? She's very happy. I think the cubs are even happier. Look at that little grooming. See how she kind of put her mouth around it? You'll see if she needs to move them, particularly across the river. I think the river might even be a bit full. If she really wanted to, she could get them across. But she'll pick them up with her mouth very, very gently and transport them like that. That one's gotten over the bath time. The other one that's just popped out from the right-hand side, been adventuring. It looked like it walked down towards the river a bit there. Mom's not really interested in, got the tail in its mouth. Look at the tip of the tail. It's almost as big as that little one's head, matching the back of its ears perfectly. You see there, mom's flicked it up a little bit, maybe. Oh, there we go again. I mean, mom's not even realizing how much joy she's bringing to those little ones by flicking their tail. All three of them now climbing into a little... Oh, here's another lioness that's just appeared. I wonder if there aren't more members of the pride that have come through here. Look at the little ones watching that other one. I mean, that's a relative of theirs, so no threat. Even mom's watching quite carefully, you see? It looked like a lioness when she came through here. Looked like an older one as well. If it's one of the maybe older cubs as well who wants to get in on this playtime, mom will very likely stop it. They can be a little bit rough. Quite clumsy on their feet still, particularly on that slippery slope. Quite steep as well. See, this one's coming to inquire about that female that's just come through. Or not, just following mom in that exact same position. Watching. Now, they're at around 2 months old at the moment. I mean, they were born completely blind and pretty useless when they were born. But they've developed so much in these 2 months. Their eyes have now opened. They've got lots more confidence. They're now running around, chasing. And they've probably got about another month or so before they start eating meat. So I've been told in the past week, mom killed a hyena not too far away here. Obviously, it was a big threat to these cubs. She also killed a wildebeest not far away. That can also be a bit dangerous to these cubs. I mean, they're not eating meat just yet, but having the smell of this carcass around will attract hyenas, and she's obviously had to kill one in the past few weeks. But hyenas in and around this den area is a super threat to these little ones. I want to see if I can't edge a little closer, Odie. Let's try and see if we can edge a little closer, yeah? This is quite important in their lives as well. They've got the confidence of having mom and a few of the other pride members around. And you'll see we are super sensitive around this den area. Even if we were allowed to off-road, we won't, or we wouldn't, just to kind of be as protective as we can and give them... See, yeah, I'm going to try not to push this little one out the way. Off-roading, there's another line there. Okay. So off-roading can put a bit of pressure on them. We don't want to scare them as well. We want to kind of give them the best chance of having a good relationship with these vehicles and to never ever feel threatened. They also take their cues from mom. So this is one of the older cubs. I didn't see the one that moved down into the bank. They looked like it was a bit of an older one. much older than this one. And you see it's keeping its distance. Also breathing quickly. I'm sure it's eaten something last night. And mom will also keep a good lookout. As I was saying, these little ones who are around a year old will often try and get involved in that playtime. But they're too boisterous, too big and too strong for these little ones. You'll also see, with these little ones and mom lactating and feeding them exclusively on milk at the moment, these year-old cubs, they're pretty much at the stage where they're completely weaned. They'll normally be fully weaned at around 9 months and start eating meat at around 3 months old. And you'll see these cubs might even go and try and suckle from this female, because she's got lots of milk that's ready, and milk is incredibly nutritious and an easy meal. Even older cubs up to around 2 years old might even try and suckle from a female that's in the pride.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
I'm Nikki here at Ambient Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page, and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Nikki, your guide here at Ambient Ngala. So my favorite animal in the African bush definitely has to be the zebra, because like people, with our fingerprints, every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. And, of course, a group of zebras together is called the dazzle. How unique is that? Come and join me or one of my colleagues here in Ngala for a sunrise and sunset safari on Wild Earth.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So the question is here this morning, who done it? When we were driving past those giraffe, when we'd left them going over the dunes, we had this whiff of dead animal. So popped out the car to come and have a look, and then we go through an investigation. Now we want to figure out what killed it, or did it die of natural causes? So there's 2 options here. If it had been lion, there wouldn't be anything left. So the lion would have eaten literally everything, all the skin, all the bones, all the legs. It would literally just be a rib cage, and that would be all that would be left. So it wasn't lion. But what is quite interesting is that there's lots of eating happening around the neck area, and then there's some eating around here, looking by the front of the ribs, then in the stomach, and then the back area. And what is also missing here is the 2 back legs. So if I if I look at the scene, I would say it either died of natural causes, but it's not really old. If we're looking at his teeth here, he's probably about sort of 9 years old. He's not at the end of his life, so he's still got lots of wear and tear left on his teeth. So probably not a natural death. I would probably say here. Most likely cheetah, most likely a male cheetah or a coalition of cheetah because of bringing down something this large. The coalition here that's in this area, the two boys are generally quite big, and taking down an adult male kudu is not impossible for them. But why I say cheetah is the way that it's been eaten. They start generally at the rump area and then try and get into the organ area. And if they have eaten enough that they are so full, they'll actually get up and move on. It wasn't either spotted or brown hyena that had killed this, because they would also consume everything. A spotted hyena would have finished everything as well, same like the lions. But the brown hyena is most likely come along and taken the back legs as takeaways. Both of them have been chewed off the hip bones here, and there's lots of chewing going around here. So I would say that the brown hyenas have taken pieces. So why are there no vultures is the question. I'm sorry I didn't get the name, but they possibly haven't seen it. This is maybe, looking at it, I would say maybe 1 to 2 weeks old, not more than that. And it wasn't in the very heavy rains, because as soon as you have very heavy rains, then you have a lot more activity and the skin softens, that they'll eat it. And there are numbers of vultures in the area here, but not large numbers that they actually find every carcass. We definitely see signs of jackal that have been here, but certainly no, the vultures haven't been. But what you may find is when we have more rain, that skin softens enough, then if a vulture is flying by, it'll stop to eat the skin. Sometimes it also depends on if you have the variety of vultures. So we tend to only get the white-backed vulture here and the odd lappet-faced vulture. For all the vultures have got different beaks, and with having a different beak, you have a different adaptation. So the hooded vulture with the long sort of pointy beak can get in between the bits and pieces. The lappet-faced vulture have a much bigger beak. They can rip at big chunks of meat. So yeah, I just don't think that the vultures have found this one. Shame. Rest in peace. The hooves have actually been taken as well. That's probably something like a jackal or hyena. They like that, basically gelatine in the hoof. They do take that. So we're going to leave him in peace, or pieces, and we're going to send you across to Steve that's got some elephants to show you.
Welcome back to Joom, everybody. I don't know if you were aware, but Deirdre and I used to work together at Singita years ago. Long time ago indeed. And well, we found some elephants. We've done a big loop around, and we found a couple of male lions, but we weren't in an area of broadcastability, unfortunately. So we've moved back a little bit closer in, and now we've got ourselves at least one female over here. There's a whole herd of them scattered through the thickets around us, yeah. This female's got a calf, which was visible a moment ago, but the vegetation is very dense. You can see how gentle the eye is. There's the baby behind him here. Aidan, you want to know how old or how long elephants live for? They can live up to 65 plus minus. It's not really the age that gets them, it's the teeth. Elephants are gifted with 6 sets of molars in their life, And about the age of 45, that last set of molars arrives in the mouth. It's like a block of wood, you can think about it. And the first set of molars is the front bit of the wood, and then you shave that off. And then the block of wood keeps moving forward, and then you just keep shaving off bits. So somehow the front of the molars just keep sort of shaving off and falling out the front of the mouth until the last bit of the wood comes out, and that is the 6th set of molars. And then once that set of molars wears down very, very smoothly, and then it prevents them from actually chewing the food at all. And if you've ever collected a whole lot of leaves and sticks in your garden and put them in a pile, that's what elephant dung looks like of an old elephant. Basically, it goes in the mouth and it comes out the other side completely undigested. And so the individuals eventually start to lose condition, and that's eventually what kills them. But here in the Sabi Sands, or in South Africa, where the elephants eat a lot more sort of trees and bark and wood, their teeth wear down a little bit more, just due to the sort of abrasion activity. Whereas up in places like the Mara, they can probably live a little bit longer because they're very selective on the grazing that they feed on. Although grass, for the most part, very bulky grass, has got lots of silica in it, and silica is designed to wear down teeth. But elephants, although they are bulk feeders, are very, very selective, so they're always trying to pick the best food that they can get. So long-livered animals. Little youngsters using mum as a scratching post there. Let's move up slightly and get this little youngster in shot, unless you've still got him.
Yeah, but he's moving forward anyway.
He's moving. Very good. Well, we're going to try and get you a better position with these elephants. Meantime, we send you back up to Dan with the cuddle puddle.
Welcome back. Now it looks like Mom is going down towards the water. Look how full her belly is, and look at those. She's lactating very heavily. You can see her teats that are full of milk. I wonder where she's going. Is she going to have a drink? Look at the youngsters following her as well. Following that black tip, biting that black tip as well. Just showing us exactly what they're following, and you'll see it in the long grass. That black tip is so obvious to them. It stands out incredibly. She's trying to find a good place. Looks like she is going for a drink. As I said, particularly once you've eaten quite a lot, you can develop quite a thirst. And it was quite interesting. I mean, the female was growling quite a lot at the two younger ones, and it looks like an older lioness that's here as well, as they got a bit closer. Look at that, though. I mean, this river very rarely flows, and it's in full flow at the moment. And those little ones have just been born on the side here, and that's all they know, is this river flowing and watching it. And earlier they were kind of sitting on the bank watching some of the debris flow by. Super interesting that Mom's taken them so close. I mean, she doesn't really have to worry too much about crocodiles in this river per se. But in lots of riverbeds, in rivers that flow quite strongly, ones that flow more permanently will have a more constant presence of crocodiles, and little cubs on the edge of water like that can be quite a risk, actually. A croc would work out over the past few days that there is a lioness here, and that there is this constant presence of cubs, and that there is kind of a den site. And they'll come and move in and just wait for a cub to get too close to the water before they snatch it up. I know where Mom's going here. She's going kind of to the rest of the pride. I wonder if the little ones are going to follow. I wonder if this isn't going to be like an interesting introduction. I mean, the other ones are very aware that the little ones are here. Let's see if she comes up. I wonder where she's going, and see what the cubs do. It'll be one little communication, and the cubs will run straight back into the thick bush. She may even disappear herself into the thick bush, try and get some rest. Susanna, if I understood correctly, where are their spots? So if you have a look closely, they are super small, but on the fronts of their faces, can you see those little patches? And even on the backs of their legs and on their tummies, they've got these small little spots, and along their spine, almost like a little mohawk. They're not as obvious as one might think. They're actually quite light in color, and I'm sure that's that recessive white gene, particularly in the one of them. The one that's closest to us looks like might be the lightest one. They vary in color, but they do have those spots. They are still tiny, 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 particularly on the back of its legs there. You can see those spots, and those will be the things that camouflage them in the bush. I mean, with Mom around, they don't have to worry too much about camouflage at the moment. Oh, you see, now this is going to be interesting. Watch Mom. See that older youngsters now come into play. I'm sure Mom's going to be over here very quickly to try and watch. Oh, there she comes. She's growling. She's going to try and chase this older one away. He's desperate to get involved. Oh, even scared the little ones a bit. Look how submissive that little one's being. Look at how that commotion is so worried, those little ones. They might even run back into the bush to try and protect it. So lots of commotion. Mom wasn't very happy with that little one. Almost pushed it straight into the river. Look how running away with its tail between its legs. Look how big that lioness is compared to that little one as well. I mean, it's all about lessons out here as well. See now, that one's sibling is kind of moving away, in fact. I mean, it heard the commotion, watched its sister go in there and get a bit of a hiding from the little cub's mom, and they're going to move away. It's something that you do once, get a bit of a smack, and you move off. Particularly if you almost get pushed into a riverbed, lots of growling, a bite, or a push from a paw is something that you won't do too often. But you see, as soon as Mom gave that little gap, the older cubs kind of came in. They were watching and waiting for that small little gap before they got a chance to go in and play. And they still cubs themselves. They're around a year old. They want to play. They want to get involved in that action that was happening. Looked like lots of fun. And now you see how Mom's kind of positioned. Oh, sorry, we're not. Oh, is this the one in this little dip here? So, just judging by the reaction from that one who's just been scolded by the female, it's come back to the bigger female. I wonder if that other female isn't their mother. Kind of got a big talking to from their aunt, and they've run back to Mom to kind of be comforted. But you have a look at this female. This is the one that was busy pushing and shoving and protecting her cubs. And you see how she's positioned herself now. She's facing right directly towards where that little one went, towards where the other lioness is. She's kind of lying between her cubs and where everyone else is, just to ensure that they don't come back. You see how she's turning her head? She's making sure she can hear exactly where those three little ones are. She wants to try and have a good whereabouts as to where their whereabouts is all the time when she's here. And you saw that reaction to one of her relatives as they're coming in, and that relative wasn't meaning any harm. They just wanted to play a little bit and push and shove with their new cousins. But can you imagine? So Pele, can the cubs growl at this age? They can. It's quite high-pitched, and I don't know if you heard it, but when they came in, they were snarling and they were kind of growling. It's not quite as deep as the growl of that mother, but they can indeed. So they're the little ones, kind of just moving back through the grass. I wonder if they're not getting the confidence to come back while Mom's there and the whole situation has calmed down. But you saw how she reacted with one of her relatives. Can you imagine a hyena came too close? What the response would be from this mother. I mean, incredibly protective and incredibly strong. I wouldn't want to be messing around here. And it's super thick. I mean, anything can kind of wander into here. Even ourselves, when we when you're walking, you can, if you don't know that this area is here, you could kind of just walk in and stumble across it, and you'll find out very quickly that you're in the wrong area. And if you take the female's warning, she'll very likely warn you from a distance, growl at you before she wants to kind of charge or attack. She'll give you a warning. If you heed that warning, things will calm down quite quickly. But if you advance, even once those warnings are given, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble. And she's not going to be nearly as gentle as she was on that other cub that came through. It would have been very entertaining and it would have been fascinating to see what that other one would have done if it actually got pushed into the riverbed. So Kirsty, when will she introduce them to the rest of the pride? As you can see here, they have been introduced to a few members of the pride, and they're aware that they are related and they're no threat, and that one day they're all going to be moving around together. It all depends on the cubs. Okay, here they come back. Yeah, they come back. Oh, straight back onto mom. So at this age, they're still very vulnerable. You see how they're even still quite clumsy, walking over mom's legs and running down the hills. They can't really keep themselves up properly. They're still super playful. But in the next month or so mom will then start introducing them and feeding them meat. And she'll go make a kill, she'll come back to the den site, collect them, and then take them towards the carcass. The problem with introducing them to the pride too early is that they can't keep up. So the pride can move. So there was a little growl, I don't know if you heard it. So when the pride's moving, and they can move many kilometers in an evening, the whole pride will try and move together, but the little ones can't keep up. They just get too tired, and actually if they fall too far behind, they can become quite vulnerable. So mom will try her best to keep them away from the pride, actually for as long as they can. If the pride is close by, she might take them into a carcass and slowly bring them towards everybody else. But until they are completely confident on their feet and actually capable and fit enough to move several kilometers in an evening or in a day, which might be anywhere up to around 6, 7, 8 months old, they will start being introduced, particularly if the pride is around at around 3 months old, when they start eating meat. But very good question. Look at that, we found a little chew toy in the tail. I just love how big that black tip to the tail is. We look at those parts of the lion so often, and it just gives you a kind of idea as to how small that cub is. And you see how it's kind of like pulling at the tail, using its 2 front paws to hold it, and then pull at it. These are skills that it's learning. I mean, you'll often see lions around carcasses trying to like pull, particularly leopards actually pulling fur and skin away. Now you see how it kind of like puts its whole body over mom's tail, then picks up the end of it with its teeth, holding on tight as well, hey? That's quite important to developing the muscles in this lion's jaw. And even its feet, I mean, you see how it kind of leant back on its back feet? So Claire, is it not painful for mom? Not really. I mean, she's a big, strong, incredibly tough lion. And I mean, this little cub has got tiny little teeth and hasn't got much jaw strength at the moment. But even as they get bigger and older, they'll start playing with each other quite aggressively. Even that older cub that was there earlier, when it's playing with its sibling, you'll see them biting each other, and it won't be hard. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've got pet dogs at home, you know, when a little puppy's biting on your arm, it's not painful. They're just kind of feeling more than anything. Sometimes it looked like in that particular case that when that cub was holding on quite tightly, it was biting hard, but at such a young age, it hasn't got the jaw muscles and the strength to really inflict pain on mom. That tail as well is quite a lot of hair. There is obviously nerve endings closer to the end, but she's not too worried about her little cub. She might even endure a little pain to allow this cub to develop, learn, and develop those muscles. Let's see. It looks like one of the lionesses is up as well in this little... Nope, she's just moved positions. She hasn't gone anywhere. And mom wasn't too worried either. She didn't even give a little snarl or a growl. The little cub, however, watched very closely. I mean, I'm sure this little one is so fascinated by the other lions, wants to get involved, but they can be a little bit too rough. But it's amazing to see the protective nature of that mother. She went away, try and get some rest. I'm sure she's been I mean, you can see how this cub is watching so closely, biting on might bite on that stick. But mom kind of, I'm sure she's been exhausted feeding the cubs. Looks like she's eaten last night. Maybe she made a kill. So she's tired. And I mean, this is the time of the day when lions are generally trying to rest. But she can't get too much rest because she's keeping an ever watchful eye. So moving away and trying to take that extra little nap put her cubs at risk. Not really risk because it's their relatives and the rest of the pride who came through, but just that small opportunity those other cubs took to come in and start playing. So mom's got to be ever watchful and ever present, in fact, which is exhausting. I'm sure there are lots of mothers out there who can relate to that. It's a lovely day today as well. It's not hot, it's not raining anymore. See how she's panting, super proud. That little cub is watching. I wonder if this isn't one of the more confident and brave little ones. The other two are still hiding from that little commotion and that little fight. But I'm going to spend a little bit more time here. I think this is an incredible opportunity to watch the development of these cubs while I send you somewhere else for now.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tembeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of Wild Earth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the Wild Earth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
There is clearly something in the vicinity around you that's drawn their attention. Yes, that meerkat in the tree is just the coolest of cool meerkats. But watch how he battles when he comes down. That would be like me climbing a tree, just better.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effects down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the #1 aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we're just moving around slowly to see what we can find. Lots of hyena tracks in the road here. The lion pride definitely arrived on the property last night, made a kill and went straight out again where they came in. It's a bit disappointing, but I suppose they were hungry. They just came in for a snack. And, oh, got some francolins in the road. That'll do. A little covey of francolins, the crested francolin. They are growing quite quickly. You can see one of them is bigger than the rest. Busy feeding off of the grass stalks. These are very omnivorous birds. Feed on insects, seeds, dig up corms in the dry season. Feed on the larvae of insects as well. A very important sort of ecological function out here. They provide food for an enormous number of species. from large birds to snakes, even to small cats, medium-sized cats. We wonder how many francolin our leopards actually feed on, because there are an enormous amount of francolin on the property. Both the crested francolin and the coqui in this area. There's a fair amount of coquis. We've even seen some shellies, not that common. But then the spurfowl, the natal, and the Swainsons. And then up one level to the guinea fowl. Many, many game birds. All precocial. Ground nests in a little bush or thicket. And they will hatch at the same time. And then follow mum around, feeding on the vegetation and distributing seeds, scratching up the earth, removing fly larvae, which is a very important one. They are indeed, Angela. They're all part of the galliform family or order. So they definitely all form that same sort of grouping. Ground nesting game birds. You also get quails in the same sort of grouping, as well as pheasants and chickens. They all sort of that game bird. Ground nesting. Very terrestrial in their movements. They can fly, but they spend most of their time on the floor. And they are buffer food species for many of our predators. And they can increase in number very quickly. When seasons are good, they can breed a few times. Because being precocial, there's no parental care required. So they just have to basically lay eggs. And then once the eggs hatch, the youngsters follow them around. So essentially, they could end up laying another set of eggs quite early on after the other chicks have hatched. Little covey of francolins slowly moving down the road. Even they don't like walking in the thick stuff at the moment. It's very dense. Very overgrown and also rather wet. Okay, well, we're going to move on and see what else we can find down this road. We send you over to Angus, who sounds like he's got a zebra.
Welcome back. We have found some zebra. We came up on that same hillside that we saw those two cheetah brothers last night, hoping to find them. So far we haven't seen any signs, but I'm hoping that they'll still be in the area. Meanwhile, we found a beautiful band of zebra. Zebra usually live in small family groups. And as you can see here, it looks like at least 4 of them together. And it was interesting earlier, it looked like the male, so these family groups usually consist of one dominant male and his females. And it looked like in this case the male was keeping between us and the rest of his females. So the job of the males is to mate with the females and reproduce, and at the same time he'll have to protect them from any threats. So it's likely that he was just making sure that his females were safe. And that could be a reason why he was in between us and them. What a beautiful area and a beautiful place to see animals. Often it will be animals like these that will alert us of the presence of a predator. And so what they'll do is they would often stare at something or make an alarm call, which is a loud snort. And they'd all probably look in one direction if they had seen something. So having these animals around might help us find those cheetah. But it's quite a mountainous area, and cheetah can move very far quite quickly if they're on the move. You can see those two zebra that are mirroring each other. So there's one on the left, and then there's two just behind it that are standing side to side. So what zebra do is they'll partake in grooming, and when they groom each other, they'll try and get the other zebra that's grooming them to obviously scratch in a certain place. So what they'll do is they'll scratch that zebra in one place, and then the other zebra will mirror it on its body. That's kind of how they will pinpoint if they have a particular itch that's irritating them. They'll try and pinpoint the other zebra and get it to scratch them there too. Let's just roll forward. I'm hoping our signal will stay good enough. Just want to go a few meters. It's a bit better. There's also an impala ram just behind him. Impala are quite similar to zebra in terms of they'll have a male that would live with a whole herd of females. With them, not necessarily a small group, but the herds can get a lot bigger than what you usually find here at Punda in terms of the size of the herds. You can see that zebra on the right looks a bit younger than the rest, and it's just a lot smaller. So we're going to carry on moving and hopefully find some signs of those two cheetah that we saw last night. For now, we're going to send you over to Dan, who has another member of the cat family.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, one of the other bigger lionesses, she's one of the younger lionesses, in fact. It looks like the mother of those next older cubs in the pride. Let's see what happens here. She's getting a bit closer. I think more to greet the female than the cub. But you see how the cub's kind of gone right between mom's leg, and she's feeling quite comfortable. Oh, very comfortable when the cub's between her legs. She's got a real good protection area there. And even though that other lioness is come so close, look at the size difference between, this little one. You see that yawn, super playful this morning. Particularly after spending days sleeping and this morning, lots of playing, it can be quite exhausting. Little children, little cubs, look, maybe it's going to call the other two out. It's gone to watch. Let's see if this, the end of its tail's looking a little bit, I don't know. A few of them have got some serious scars. I wonder what happened. I wonder if something didn't come through and kind of got a little hold of them, and maybe mom came in and chased them off very quickly. In conditions like this, there's lots of food around and they've been eating quite well. Mange can also be something that'll get into, here come the rest of them. Here they come. Maybe they went off, had a little snooze, saw the activity of that other female. She actually went down and had a drink at the water. All three of them are just the cutest little things. The confidence, down the hill they go, follow each other hopefully. Let's see if they start playing with that other lioness. That's quite amazing. So we would talk, look how she watches mom, that other lioness, hey? But this is quite amazing. See how submissive she was. She turned her head, kind of put her ears back a little bit. Now watching away, she's kind of pretending to not show any interest in those cubs, just to avoid the aggression of the mother. Look at that for submissive behavior. Turns her head completely as if she's not interested and not doing anything to the cubs, just so that she can lie so close to that other female. lions are amazing. They've got these incredibly tight social bonds within a pride, and these two would have grown up together. They've probably done many hunts together, eaten together, lived together. You see how she walked up from the riverbed, kind of rubbed her head up against her, just showing the affection that lions often do. And did you see the cubs also started to do that? They wanted to go towards that other female, rub up against, develop this bond. I mean, this is probably one of the first times that females got so close to those cubs. So it's quite exciting for everyone. A bit nerve-wracking for Mom, but Mom trusts that other lioness, particularly because she's also just had cubs of her own. She knows how to deal with them very gently. And you'll see in the next few months, those cubs will get more freedom to go towards the rest of the pride members, and they'll start grooming each other and developing these bonds which will be there for life, particularly the females. It's quite difficult to sex these little ones at the moment. I was trying earlier. I think I saw one male and one female. I didn't get the sex of the third one. But particularly the females, they'll live with Mom and that other lioness for the rest of their lives, if they manage to survive. I mean, the fathers of these cubs, the Ross males, are getting a bit older now, and it's interesting to see how long they're going to have with this pride, which is not... They've already been in charge for around 3 years, which is a long time, particularly for older males, and only 2 of them in this area. I mean, some of the most prime lion territory in the world. Why you find these huge super prides around here. There's also stiff competition for it from other males, nomadic males that are coming through. And my opinion as to why the Ross males have done so well, it might make them seem a little bit soft, but actually incredibly clever. They've been very good at running away from nomadic lions that have come in and threatened their territories, keeping the rest of the pride and little ones like this hidden and out of interest from new advancing males. Look at these 3. All of them have got scars on their back. I'd love to have known what happened. I wonder if that hyena didn't get too close that one time. But those scars, the fur will grow up and develop over those. So I'm going to keep quiet. The cubs are making a little bit of noise. Wonder if they're not going to try and convince Mom to have a little suckle. Can the scar on one of the cubs cause an infection? It doesn't look like it. So those wounds actually look like they're reasonably old. They have covered up. They're not deep at all. So they've kind of covered up, and you see how they're black already. I don't think they're at risk of causing an infection over there. I think the risky part of those wounds getting infected is already over. You see how it's dark? It's almost like scabbed over. You know when you cut yourself and it develops this scab? That's pretty much what's happened there. It's already closed up. So this little one closest to us looks like a young male. You can actually see, looks like a scrotum at the back just below its tail. Looks like a young male. All 3 of them lying right on top of there. So I wonder what, I think I saw another young female. Maybe it's 1 male and 2 females. See, Mom's also kind of, you just saw her back roll over like that, her tummy behind the picture here, breathing very heavily. Let's see if this one doesn't go around and try and have a suckle. It's the first time that this female's teats have been exposed since we've been here. You hear that growling? Let's see if they don't go around and have a little suckle. Let's see, I mean, they are very full. Maybe playtime is more important than breakfast at this moment. I'm sorry that you can't hear the growling, but there's growling and a few little chirps from the cubs. It's this high-pitched little squeak. It's amazing. They're just watching in the river, and you'll often see a little piece of foam or a stick come by, and that's super interesting to these little ones. I mean, everything at the moment is so new to them. They're fascinated and intrigued by anything that goes on around them. So Mom's kind of finally getting a little shut eye rolling onto her side, like we're saying, look at this one pulling on that other one's tail. And we were asking earlier, we got a question about what happens if they bite too hard and is it sore? If they look at the condition of that tail now, I just want to have a closer look as well. So at least it's kind of scabbed up. We were talking about the scabs earlier. It has scabbed up, so it's not looking too bad. That may be a distinguishing feature for that lion for the rest of its life, in fact, depending on how deep it is. I mean, look at the tiny little tip of black. I mean, it's kind of been bitten away completely. Very, very interesting. But it'll grow up. I mean, that's not an injury that'll hinder this lion at all. I mean, we were with the Pride of Lions last night, but I'm 99% sure they were the Birmingham Breakaway. Indigo Girl, watching animal behavior is super fascinating, particularly in a family dynamic like this. And I mean, cats in general are solitary, quite secretive animals. Lions are pretty much the only gregarious and social cat like this. So to watch this behavior with the little ones amongst each other, they would play like this normally. But to have the other lioness and the two other cubs around is fascinating. The animal behavior and the interactions particularly are fascinating. I mean, even in these parts of the world, we have lots of hyenas that often come through, and they provide amazing viewing because they are so confident. They often barge into situations and cause and create these interactions between predators, which is absolutely amazing. They're almost like they're there just to cause trouble and create amazing viewing. And I mean, hyenas have got a bad reputation, but they're incredibly important and incredible survivors out here. You know, I wouldn't really like to see a hyena in this situation. Maybe if it came through now, I mean, the mom would chase it away very quickly. But if mom wasn't here, it would be a super threat to these very new cubs. Mom can't afford to keep too much or sleep too much, eh? You see how she got up there, make sure that they are right. I mean, her ears will always be working to listening to where they are and what they are up to. So, I mean, have a look at the color of the one in the middle. It looks a little bit lighter than the rest of them. I'm sure that's that recessive white lion gene that the Birmingham Pride has got. And I mean, we know the fathers, the Ross males, have also got that recessive gene. But you see, none of these lions are white. But there was a chance of them turning out white. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if this female has got that recessive gene. I mean, her sisters have got it because they've produced those white lions, and you've got to have the recessive gene of the male match up with the recessive gene of the female, which is incredibly rare. Super interesting. They've been playing for a long time. I wonder if nap time's not going. We saw that one earlier yawning. I wonder if they're not going to try and follow mom's action here and try and get some rest. I mean, it's such small little cubs. I mean, they're feeding quite a lot, and when they do feed, they develop a lot of energy, and a lot of that energy is used to actually grow and develop and strengthen their bodies. But there's also, I mean, in terms of the proportions on their body size and the amount that they eat, there is a lot of excess energy, particularly when they're sleeping a lot in the bushes during the day when mom's not here. And that might be for days. I mean, when was it, 2 days ago, we saw this female, the mother of these cubs, with about 7 of the other Pride members. Oh, look at that paw. I mean, the one on the right looked a little bit soft. But I mean, as they get older, that paw, I mean, even at this young age, you can see how big they are, particularly the front paws. They'll grow and develop into these incredible weapons. And with the claws at the end there, a strong paw can grip onto a prey species and hold it there. I mean, even males, they'll fight one another with their paws, kind of like boxing gloves. And you'll see as that young male that we saw earlier, I don't know which one he is right now, he'll grow and he'll start to develop this mane. And the mane will be an intimidation factor to other lions, making him look much bigger. But it'll also be kind of like a scrum cap around his head, because they do fight with their paws and they are super strong and super big. having that extra protection around your head and your neck, around quite soft, vulnerable parts of your body, is a huge asset to trying to survive. And lions with bigger manes will be able to take a bigger blow from another lion, allowing it to last longer in a fight and maybe get a critical blow into the other lion, which might chase it away. And you'll see we were talking about excess energy and things like that these little cubs will be using. And they'll be using all this excess energy that they get from the food that they're eating. Sorry, I'll carry on with that now. Kim, this is so cute, you're melting. This is incredibly cute, and I feel incredibly fortunate to sit here. This is the first time that I'm really seeing them. And yeah, it is incredibly cute, and the behavior out in the open, right on this riverbed, is fantastic. So going back to the excess energy, that little male particularly, let's talk about him and the excess energy that he's going to use. He's going to be growing a little bit quicker than his sister. There might be sisters in this situation, particularly in the next few years. And they'll get to a point where maybe at around 3.5, I mean, it changes all the time, but generally around 3.5 years old, he'll then leave this pride and go on his own way, hopefully with some other brothers and cousins to create a bigger, stronger coalition, which will give him the best chance at survival. And in those nomadic years, oh, got a bit of a fright. Did you hear that growl? This has got Mom's attention. So in those nomadic years where they're kind of fending for themselves, moving between lion territories, picking scraps from other lions or leopards or hyenas or hunting for themselves, is an incredibly important part in their lives in trying to develop this mane that we were talking about. If they are eating very well, I mean, lions spend a lot of time sleeping, conserving energy. If they are eating very well, they'll have a lot of energy to hunt and move around. But if there is excess energy in the amount of food that they're eating, that will go a long way to developing a big mane. Obviously, it has a lot to do with genetics, but if they eat very well, they will develop large manes, which will go a long way to ensuring their survival and the survival of their pride in the years to come. These little ones, you see how they've kind of moved back into the bush? That's their safety at the moment. Obviously, they've got Mom as well, which is an extra safety line. But this is where they're comfortable. And the bushes and the trees that are around here are, the majority of them are buffalo thorns, in fact. And those are pretty tough trees. No animal, in fact, wants to go anywhere really near them. They're super sharp. And I mean, it gets this name, the buffalo thorn, because buffaloes will sometimes reverse or like walk backwards into these trees to kind of protect themselves against lions, because there's no lion that's going to come in through the tree. And having its head outside facing the lions gives it the protection of its horns, and the tree gives it the protection from behind. So having the little den site where these cubs can go in and play in these buffalo thorns gives it extra protection. There's going to be no birds that really want to go in there. I mean, a python, a big python, if it slithered through one of these buffalo thorns, might be able to take one of these cubs, which will be very, very sad. Not unheard of, though. But a real good protection. It's also an amazing place on the riverbed here. I mean, very dense with the buffalo thorns we were talking about, lots of other foliage as well. But you see the view, I mean, along the riverbed here, Mom will be able to look all the way to the bank of the river. You see how she's even looking there now? She can see anything coming from a distance on the other side, whether it be another lion, which would be an incredible threat from another pride to her. She'll protect these cubs fiercely. You saw her protecting them even from one of the other pride members earlier. But yeah, I mean, this vantage point is amazing. Lots of foliage and dense vegetation on this side, and lots of openness, which allows Mom the best chance at keeping these cubs alive. Kind of just moved in behind the bush there. I wonder if they're not going to be settling down in a short while. I love that interaction where that other female kind of got up. She went and had a little drink of water and then slowly made her way towards the mother of these cubs. Kind of had a little greeting, lay right next to her. And that's also an extra form of protection to these cubs, which will be a great thing to keep in mind for that mother and allow her maybe to get a little bit of extra sleep. So for now, I think the cubs have gone into a bit of a thicker area and might be spending a bit of time resting. I might do a little loop around the area here. Oh, another one sleeping there. Do a little loop around in the area. See if there aren't any more Pride members lying around, maybe not too far away. In the meantime, I'll send you somewhere else while I carry on looking for some more lions.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
There we go, first sighting of the baby meerkats. Oh my goodness. Ah, how cute is that? Look, hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil. There they go.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So welcome back to Tswalu. We just busy. The trackers have managed to find the female cheetah mother and three. So we're on our way to get to the sighting. Shouldn't be too long. We're not too far, and yeah, it doesn't sound like she's doing too much at this point. But she's just south of one of the dams, so she's probably. See if anything starts heading towards the water. Most of the time now, at this time in the morning, most of the cats are starting to lie down, so I doubt that she'd be hunting now. It's already starting to get quite warm. We're probably in for another 32 degree day today. It was really, really warm yesterday, so we don't know if she's had any success. Yeah, we are almost there. So it is quite difficult to spot them if you look at how high the sour grass is, and some of the tree thorns, and everything is green. So it is quite a challenge, but we're not in the spot just yet. Don't forget to send your questions to hashtag WildEarth and type at FC in the front. And for those kids under 18, you can register on the website and send your questions direct. For sure. So I haven't quite got to the dam yet, but Steve is apparently at a dam, and hopefully the next time you come back to us, we'll have a cheetah for you.
thanks, Dee. Indeed, we have made our way to a dam, and it is a perfect opportunity to just take a few moments of silence, and so we're all just going to switch off and allow you to just enjoy the beauty that is this gorgeous morning's reflection. butterfly, it does indeed look like glass, doesn't it? What a gorgeous morning. What a gorgeous way to spend a little bit of time each day. And I hope you all enjoyed a few moments there of silence. And, well, Mike is out and about this morning, and he's dying to say good morning.
And hello it is. Look who we found. In almost exactly the same position as she was yesterday, it's our lone lioness. She's been watching a group of wildebeest, and the reason why we actually found her is because Gert spotted these wildebeest galloping across the plains. So we crossed the drainage line and we came to investigate, and here we found her. She hasn't moved far. Obviously, during the rains, she tried her luck with these wildebeest. Doesn't look like she's been successful, but she's clearly still interested. Hi everyone, my name's Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. And you'll see now the wildebeest looking pretty uncomfortable in the distance behind us. And they're just starting now to move away from the lioness, but you can see they've got a couple of very young calves with them, which would have been what this lioness was most likely after. You can see the calves moving there. Now, there's only 3 calves with them. At one stage with this herd, I think there were 4. So it seems like at some point one of them has had an accident of some sort. It's probably been eaten by something. Oh, that one on the left is trying to suckle again. And its mother is saying, hey, not right now. There is a lion that wants to eat us. And they've moved right to the middle of the open clearing on Impala Plains, which means that it's very difficult for this lioness to get any closer. And from the tracks that we saw, it seemed like these wildebeest were right up against the drainage line, and she must have tried to chase them and just, unfortunately, missed or given her position away at the wrong moment. But she's still just sitting there waiting for these wildebeest to relax. So what she'll normally do is try to, wait for them just to relax a little bit and forget about her, basically. And then once she sees that they are no longer watching her and they're starting to feed, she'll reposition herself into a better position to try and hunt again. As you can see, she's sitting almost exactly next to that same termite mound she was on yesterday. No longer watching the wildebeest, now just sort of relaxing. See, her eyes are starting to close. When we found her yesterday, she would have just started to get active. She was lying down, and then she got up and moved back and forth. And then the whole evening, I'm sure she was up and down, moving about, especially when it was raining, trying to get as close as possible to anything to catch. And I mean, it's not to say she hasn't caught anything. She just hasn't caught anything large enough for us to notice. It's easy for her to catch things like scrub hares or sleeping francolin. Even a young steenbok or duiker could be caught and consumed and leave not even a trace. So whilst we wait rather for this lioness to get active, we'll send you over to Deirdre, who's got some rather more active individuals.
So we've just found the camel thorn jungle gym for this group of baboons this morning. They've come down to drink at the water, and they've been playing on that thing. Here we go. Whoops. Having a good morning play on that dead camel thorn tree. It's quite a big group. There's probably about 30 or 40 here. They all... most of them have come down to drink already. There's one actually drinking at the moment, and then there's quite a lot that they'll start settling down under the trees as it starts getting warmer, but they're just having an absolute blast. So at the moment, with the sheer volume of food around, there's lots of time for play. So it's not like winter when they really struggle to find food and there's less time for play. At the moment, there's so much food available that there's lots and lots of time for play. You can see some of the other up and down one of the other trees in the background there. Looks like, yeah, there's a mum with a baby there. There's a small little baby as well in the shade. So this sort of troop will consist of quite a few dominant males. It's known as an oligarchy. A few dominant males, and then the majority are either sub-adult males, then females and youngsters. But those guys, they're just having a blast there. Who's the king of the castle? Oh, that was quite a somersault. They could probably do a round of gymnastics. I know for the little kids in South Africa, they call it monkey-nastics if you've got young kids. And that's probably where they get it from, is these guys doing their tricks. Whoops. Sometimes you see them that they pull each other's tail and they hang off the tail. And then, oh, there's a big one coming. There's a big male on his way. So Tyler is asking how many species of baboon we have in Tswalu. So there is only one baboon species in southern Africa, and that's called the Chakma baboon. So although different areas in South Africa, the baboons actually look different. Down in the Cape coastal regions, because it's a lot colder down there, the baboons are often much hairier. They just look bigger. And then if you went further up into East Africa, you'd find the yellow and the olive baboon. So in South Africa, only the one species, the Chakma baboon. So you can see almost that sort of very blunt face. There we go. Who's the... Sometimes I always wonder if the weight wouldn't break those branches. But he's obviously the dominant one's got the best view. He can see quite far from up there. Maybe he can spot the cheetah for us. We're still on a mission to go and find her. But coming across these guys, we couldn't resist. We had to stop because it's always entertaining to watch them. We're watching them, they're watching us. Oh, don't fall out the tree. A little bit far away, but you can actually hear them all. They're all busy talking and communicating with each other. So we're going to move on and try and see if we can find that cheetah, and we're going to send you to Dan, who's got something moving.
Okay, everybody, so decided to leave those little cubs, and the reason for that is they kind of went into a bigger bush, and I think they've gone back to sleep, in fact. So I've left them alone, let them do what they need to do. And I've driven a little bit further down the riverbed here, kind of see if it's crossable this morning, but it's certainly not. You can see me standing here. Please excuse my radio, that's going mad. But I just had to take the advantage of taking my shoes off and getting into this riverbed. It doesn't flow very often at all. It's really beautiful, and although it's not raining right now, it's still filling up, and the banks are getting shorter and shorter at the moment. And the reason for that is all the little tributaries and the drainage lines further down the river are still flowing quite heavily into this river. Now, this river will flow all the way through Ngala's property. We've got about 15 kilometers of this Timbavati River, and there will be some permanent pools along the way, but this flows all the way through the Kruger National Park, along the S39, in fact, one of my favorite roads, and until it meets the Olifants, which will then meet into the Olifants and flow all the way into Mozambique, where it will end. But this is a super treat. I mean, having this river flowing like this doesn't happen very often for very long at all either. I wonder if there aren't any fish. The bird life at the moment is amazing. Those little lion cubs on the bank, I mean, they've only seen this river flowing, which is fantastic. I wonder how long it's going to flow for. Watching the birds fly up and down the river, giant kingfishers, pied kingfishers, things that we don't often see around here, but it's a super privilege. And I mean, I had to take advantage of this opportunity to get my feet wet, get my hands wet while it's not raining, and really put myself in here. And actually, I really wanted to see if this is crossable, and it's not. We kind of judge it on the tires. I mean, I didn't even walk a few meters in there, and it was about knee depth. And if kind of way to judge if this water is crossable, you see how quickly it's flowing. if I drive in there and the water's about halfway up my tire, that's a good indicator to tell me not to cross there. And I mean, me walking 5 meters in here, it's up to my knees. It's certainly above my tire. And although it doesn't look like it's too strong, I promise you this water is incredibly strong. It will wash this Land Cruiser that I drive with no problem, with such ease. It's also a bit of a problem for the animals as well. If they want to get to the other side of the river, they can't. Elephants might be able to cross. Lions can cross if they really want to, but it is quite tricky. It also restricts us as well here at Ngala. I mean, this morning I've been restricted to the southern side of the reserve because of this river. Obviously, it hasn't been a terrible thing just because we've had amazing view of that lioness and her cubs. But what an amazing time. I mean, I've loved getting my feet wet. It's 8 o'clock in the morning and I'm busy swimming in the Timavati River. And yeah, I'm going to keep going along the banks. I mean, the trees, the density of the trees and the size of the trees along the riverbed are a really good place for leopards. I mean, it's a tricky time of the year to be looking for leopards. And the reason I say that is because the grass is so long. And even with all the rain, you can't even pick up on tracks on the road unless they're super fresh, which is a good thing to look out for. Also, along these trees, if a leopard does climb up into the tree, it's a really good place for it to rest, even hoist a carcass and maybe sleep in there. Avoid the moisture and the wet grasses around and get some well-deserved rest up off of the ground, away from the presence of other predators. And hopefully there's a kill that's just hanging there. So that's my next plan. Maybe the rest of the Birmingham Pride's around. They may even be on the other side of the river. We haven't seen them. The Birmingham Breakaway Pride that we saw yesterday, as much as I would have loved to have gone and followed up on them this morning, they're on the other side of the river and I'm now stuck on this side, which is not a train smash. I mean, I'm quite stoked. This doesn't happen very often. A rarity around here. It's so amazing to see so much water. And there are little pools. In fact, one of the more permanent pools is just to my left here. It's around this bend here. You see how it bends? It's eroded into quite a deep pool that will be around for a majority of the year, providing water. And you'll see as you drive in the Kruger as well, there are these large pools that are even home to hippos as this river dries up. But I'm sure for the rest of the day, it's going to continue to rise because it might even be raining a little bit further west of us. It's flowing from the west to the east. And as those drainage lines and those tributaries continue to flow, this river will continue to rise. Okay.
We are just sitting here looking for some foam nest frogs. But we can't see the frogs, and of course you can see the nest. These white meringues that are absolutely everywhere around water holes. Now they're produced by a frog, as many of you know, and normally you can actually tell when they're active or not, if you like, when they've got the tadpoles inside, when the eggs have been fertilized. Now the intention of the foam is to keep the offspring, the tadpoles, hydrated. Just like insects, the biggest fear, the biggest threat to a frog is dehydration. They don't want to dehydrate. So the foam is actually very, very moist inside. It retains a lot of water. So in the really, really hot summer's day, not like today, you'll find that the sort of nest does not dehydrate. It doesn't desiccate. It doesn't empty of water. And that's the whole point. Now, sometimes when you look, I wonder if I can find it for you all, there's foam nests sitting very, very high up on trees. And it makes you wonder the survival rate of these nests, because the tadpoles have got to fall. Once they're ready, they drop out of the nest and land in water. Some mummy frogs, shall we say, don't always get it right. They don't position their nests correctly, so that maybe when the tadpoles are ready to drop, there's no water underneath. Unfortunately, I can't show you a picture, Danny. Maybe Steve can, if he has a frog book. They just look like frogs. They're very small frogs, and they can change colour. And normally when you find them out of the water, they'll be very, very pale. They'll camouflage very, very well with the bark of the tree. I'm just trying to see where I found that one that's positioned ridiculously high up. And it makes me think that there can't possibly be a high survival rate. Oh, we've got some go-away birds. Now I can play you their call, because I'm actually not in the field. I'm obviously sitting in FC. I'm going to play you the bird call. We generally tend to not play calls when we're around the bird itself, just in case it interrupts the animal, but I'm obviously not there, so let's see if I can find it. The go away bird is one of my favourite calls. Go away! They're very large birds, completely grey in colour, and they're very easy to identify by that sort of tuft of feathers on the head. And of course, now I cannot find it. Now, excuse me if you do hear any strange noises. It's not just myself and FC. We have a new addition to the team called Wally. Wally is a tree squirrel that ran onto Davy immediately after a drive last night. Davy was getting off the car and all of a sudden had a tree squirrel on his shoulder crying like a little baby. So it's a juvenile. We don't quite know what's happened, but he follows us everywhere we go. We've not been feeding it, we've not been doing anything. It's literally just following us, and it's now in FC. So excuse me if you hear any strange noises. It's not myself. It's Wally. Say hello, Wally. Okay, so I can't find the call, but it does sound something like, go away! And I will keep looking for other exciting things on the dam can, and for now, we're going to send you across to Mike.
Just moved a bit more into the clearing because the Lioness moved down into the drainage line. We couldn't really see her anymore. We're trying not to off-road because of all the rain we've had, so we'll wait for her to come back out into the open. In the meantime, came a bit closer to these wildebeest. It's a glorious morning. After the rain we had last night, the clouds are shrouding the mountain, and these wildebeest are enjoying the succulent green grass that can be found saturated in that beautiful rain that we had. There's the mountain that, of course, is Mariepskop, part of the Drakensberg escarpment, the highest point in the northern Drakensberg, just a little under 2,000 meters above sea level. It's an awesome spot with a great view over the whole of the Lowveld in this area. As you can see, the low clouds surrounding the mountain makes it look very, very beautiful this morning. Not often we get a view like that. The wildebeest are still a little bit nervous. There's at least one or two individuals that keep snorting every now and again. The male, I think, is the one closest to us on the left. He's pretty relaxed, though. He's starting to feed. He doesn't seem to be too worried. Some of the other wildebeest still staring out towards where that lion was. But most of them are starting to feed now and relax. Ivan, that's a great question. So I guess one of the main differences between black and blue wildebeest is that the black wildebeest has a very, very small range. It's mostly confined to the high-veld areas and into the Karoo in the central parts of South Africa and into the western part of South Africa, whereas the blue wildebeest has a huge range all the way from southern Africa, any savanna regions, all the way up through to East Africa as well. And there are obviously subspecies of wildebeest here and there, but they're all coming from blue wildebeest, so they've got a huge range. And then they look a bit different. I mean, if you look at this wildebeest here, it's got this grayish blue color with the stripes on its side. And now that is very different to the black wildebeest, which is very dark in color. The black wildebeest actually has a white tail and white mane and a little bit of white on the beard, whereas the blue wildebeest, as you can see, is completely dark all over, except for its grayish, bluish color. And the horns of a black wildebeest jut forward, whereas the blue wildebeest, they come out to the side. The size is quite remarkably different as well. A blue wildebeest is far larger than a black wildebeest, which is interesting because they are more docile. The black wildebeest is known to be quite erratic and at times rather aggressive. I used to work on a reserve in the northern Cape of the western part of South Africa, and the black wildebeest there would often charge towards us if we were walking around. It was very odd. The blue wildebeest would never really do that. interesting because it's the same like, white and black rhinos. Black rhinos or hook-lipped rhinos are largely considered to be much more aggressive. They're also much smaller. Maybe that's exactly why they're more aggressive, because they don't have the sheer size and bulk that the square-lipped or white rhinos have. Some of the youngsters now starting to curl up and lie down after all the excitement. It was really quite recent. I mean, as we were coming around this area, we heard the monkeys alarming, and then Gert happened to look over and saw this whole herd galloping through this clearing. So they've only just started to recover, and now they can relax a bit. All the adults spread around looking in all the different directions. Right, we're going to stick around here a bit longer to see if that lioness comes out and if there's any more interactions. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Dan with some baboons.
Thanks very much, Mike. I hope the lioness does show herself, particularly if she's close to some wildebeest. Now, what we've got here is a few baboons, and they seem to have, I'm sure they've been moving around for the past few hours in the morning, but very calmly, just moving along on the ground. And you see there's all different sizes and ages here. You see a couple of them being a bit smaller, following behind. You might see a female walk through with a little baby underneath her tummy. And they're just moving through the grass here, picking up on any fresh shoots, maybe looking for some fruits. I mean, it is the fruiting season for lots of these trees, so there is lots of food around. Just waiting to see. I mean, I've seen a few big males come through. I haven't seen one of their sentries. You'll often look around in the trees, and there's not many big trees where I am right now. The river is behind me where the bigger trees will be. Lots of smaller quarries and things. You'll often find like a kind of sentry that hangs around, keeping a good lookout for the rest of the troop for any kind of predators. And if there is a predator, they'll sound the alarm. That'll be something that I listen out for as well. And I think this looks like it might even be the back end of the troop. I'm going to move forward a little bit. There's a nice big clearing. Actually, no, they're going to move across the road shortly. So let's give them the space to move across the road. And they do so quite cautiously as well. You'll see some of them stop, particularly the ones in the front, do so very cautiously. Walk, 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 stop, listen, often stand up on their back legs to look over the grass. So yeah, there's lots of them that are crossing the road up ahead there. Let's see if we can quickly catch them. They even seem to be running a bit. I wonder if there isn't one at the back that's kind of pushing them up, encouraging them to move a bit quicker. That looks like a bigger one in the front there. Look at them. See that one at the bottom right? Well, there's a bigger one there, the male. You see him turning around looking at us. I mean, he's not threatened by us at all. He hasn't sounded the alarm or even running away from us. But he's got to keep an ever-watchful eye. Even on us, we're talking here, he can definitely hear us. And there's also females and things walking behind him. Those are what he needs to protect, and his little ones as well. And you'll see there'll be a hierarchy amongst the males as well. He doesn't look like a huge male, but he may very likely be one of the more dominant ones. Just from his size over here, looks like a male. And you'll see the females have got these big red bums or backside. You see that one there? You saw that big red bum, and that'll mean that these females are an estrus. So I might follow them for a little bit. You see how they hop on top there? Lots of playtime. That's a good place to even keep a lookout above the grass. I'm going to keep going, though, seeing if we can find maybe a leopard hanging in a tree. I'll send you somewhere else for now.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our Wild Earth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. Wild Earth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Success! We have found them. There's the three little cubs. She's literally just got up now to move, so we'll probably be driving with her and following her, but she's got three. These are sort of the 5-month-old cubs. I think Moritz introduced them to you literally 5 months ago when they were a couple of days old. So sorry, we'll get you a bit of an angle now. I'm going to end up having to follow. We'll try and go in right behind her. Just give us a second. We obviously don't want to be practically on top of her, so we just want to give her a bit of space. So I'll find the right gear, of course. It's supposed to be a driving segment, but she's supposed to be able to drive. No gear for going forward. It's a Land Rover. There we go. We'll cut in right behind them. Just give us a second. Stay with us because... yeah, this is typical for a female cheetah to do this, we've got a bit of a big dip here, is to lie and rest up in the shade for about 15-20 minutes, look around, and then move the cubs, lie and rest up again, maybe a little bit longer. This is the way that she keeps them, avoids other predators for during the day. So we were very, very fortunate one of the guides was actually with them for find them, because I don't know how we would have found them on our own in the middle of this block. But now she's decided to move. So possibly heading up towards that mountain, maybe she'll get a nice view from up there for a possible hunt for later. But you see how... yeah, the cubs are not too far behind her, but obviously if she shows interest in hunting anything, then she'll just stash them at a thicket and tell them to stay before she goes off hunting. So, yeah, at 5 months old at this stage, they are definitely eating meat already. But, yeah, she's done really well to get 3 already to 5 months. I'm going to just turn off for a second while they go through the grass. It's a bit easier for Morgan and the camera work. But just look at how well they camouflage. Dennis is asking how far cheetah can travel in a day. Some of the males, the 2 males in the coalition, probably 10, 15 kilometers, and sometimes they'll do that even. So they're constantly moving. I mean, she's from where she was originally to where she is now. She's probably more than 20 kilometers from where they found her in the very beginning. So the females will constantly be moving with cubs, but then the males are more territorial. But they probably a 15 square kilometer plus minus territory at least. So let's catch up to them. It's going to be a little bit challenging. She's going to pop out on a road relatively soon. We should get another view of them, but it's just going to go through that little three-thorn sour grass thicket. But she is up ahead there. I can see her. Just a little bit rocky here. So we've just got to find an ideal route for the vehicle. Just give me a second. We'll go around. Not always the easiest when you following them off-road, and everything pops out of gear. There we go, back again. We should get a nice view of them from here, so yeah, we'll be able to stay. We got them there. Oh, Mom's just gone a little bit further ahead and they can't see her, so they sort of speed up a bit. I'm going to go... So this is the challenge. She's walking through a partial thicket, but she's going to come out on the road. So we'll just, if she hasn't crossed the road already, oh, she's in the road. There we go. So it is starting to get pretty warm here. They'll definitely be looking for some shade somewhere. It doesn't mean that they won't hunt now. There's always opportunity. They're looking like they could eat if you just look at the way that their belly sits. Okay, we're probably going to have to. This might get a little bit more challenging to follow her here because it's starting to get a bit thicker, but we'll probably the easiest is to go in directly behind her. Let's see. Oh, maybe not too bad. She's also partially in an open area. So when the cheetah cubs are really, really small, their first sort of 2-3 months, they've got a lot of hair on their shoulders. Very, very hairy. It enables them to hide very well in the grass. And almost make them look a little bit like honey badgers. So, yeah. It's just... So Lee is asking the question if they're old enough to hunt yet. So not the cubs. The cubs are only 5 months old. They'll start hunting. She'll start giving them sort of, I almost want to say half alive prey, small animals. She'll throttle it a little bit and then release it, and then it's like becomes a game of play. And that'll be around about 11 months or so. And very often it tends to coincide with the lambing season of things like springbuck or impala, and then there's a lot of young prey that they can work with, and then within the next sort of 3-4 months they learn quite well, and then they hunt together as a team with the mom, and then when they're about 16 months old they'll go off all together. So even if there's males and females mixed in this group, they'll all live together for a couple of months helping feed each other, and whatever's males will stay together and form a coalition. That's a better chance for success. And then the females, as soon as they come into estrus, will split off on their own and live a solitary existence until they have cubs of their own. So she is making her way slowly up towards the ridge. It wouldn't surprise me if she lies up under that big tree just ahead of her. A nice view from up there. They've also walked a reasonable distance from where they were earlier. So we'll also have to see where she goes. Land Rovers go a lot of places, but not necessarily up that mountain. I'm just going to go up ahead here, and then I'll stop for you, Morgan. Oh, she thinks she's seen something. She's actually stopped to scan and look. So vantage points for cheetah are a very common thing. They'll either go up onto termite mounds. If there's a slanted tree, they sometimes go up that so that they've got a nice view. She just called them. She just did a little bit of, yeah, like a bird-like chirp, just to make sure that they're all still following her. I think she's seen something. She's definitely looking. Let's just go up into that gap at the top. Just go past this little thicket. Oh, no, she's carrying on. Just, oh, we have to avoid the rocks. So let's squeeze in here. It's a little rocky ridge. Let's just stop here for you. And then you should see them come. So they're quite obedient. They just follow. Oh, you can hear. There's two starlings that have just shouted at the mother. She's just spooked them out the bushes. Nice, I wonder who she is. We may start having difficulty following her. I'm just going to go and see, depending on whether she goes around the base of the mountain or... So we're going to send you across while we'll stay with her, and we'll send you across to somebody that's got something.
Welcome back to some tracks on the floor, everybody, where quite easy to see the line of this animal. There's actually two, or shall I say there's three animals that walked along in this direction. Two of them were definitely friends, and one was just by chance walking here. So I'm not sure if you can I'm not sure if you can easily see, but here in the sand we've got some toes, and there's some nail marks over there. This one might be easier to see. Toes and nail marks in front. It's obviously in very wet sediment, but the track extends to about over there. So if I draw it, and there's lots of little pads inside, it is the track of a porcupine. You can see if I show you on the drawing, you notice all the little pads, and then the toes, and then the nails are just in front. And when porcupines walk, they shuffle. They don't really move very quickly, not like a honey badger. So there are two porcupine here. There is this individual. That is the right foot. That is the left. That is the right again. And if you try to draw a line between those three, through the middle, you notice that it doesn't go through all three tracks. You notice that the one is always off center. So here again, from the left track again, we draw it down. You'll see how it's off. You can't get through all three. Generally with the honey badger, they're running, so all three of them will be on the same line. And then the second porcupine is this one over here. And once again, he's a little bit more in a line, but I think he was just maybe swaying a little bit left to right. So two porcupines, and also the distance between the track is quite narrow. So it wasn't running like honey badgers do. It was walking quite slowly. And over here on the outside is a very, very common track that we see all the time. But it's nice to see it in the sediment. And what is quite characteristic about it, in fact, actually, if I go to this one, is the overstep. You've got the front foot and the back foot. This is for the impala. Impala's hind feet or hind legs are longer, or the hips anyway, stand taller. And so when they step directly over their front foot. It's also what gives them a lot more agility and ability to be spring-loaded when they run. So wonderful to see little tracks in the sand, and the claws in the porcupine give you a good indication of its potential for digging. And the track itself is very flat on the ground. We call it plantigrade because they're walking on the flat of their foot. Although you can see the nails are just part and parcel of the foot structure. We are plantigrade as well. They're walking on the flat of the foot. Lions walk on just the toes. So in the porcupine, you can see the flat of the foot like us. You've got the toes and the claws. Lions would just be the toes. You might see the claws sometimes, and impala and ungulates are just on the claws or the nails. So there you've got the ungulate with the impala track. You've got a predator, which has got just toes, and then you've got a plantigrade animal like us, baboons, monkeys, honey badgers, porcupine, that's stepping on the entire foot. I hope that makes a lot of sense. My foot has gone to sleep while sitting like that. So we're going to stretch the leg up a little bit, and we're going to send you over to Mike, who's got an animal who likes to walk on its nails.
Absolutely does like to walk on its nails. These are plains zebra. They are not so far from impala plains where we left the lioness and those wildebeest. We still can't really see the lioness, so we said we'd adventure a bit further, and there's a fairly decent sized herd of zebra here. It's at least 7 or 8 individuals plus some impala rams who I'm sure have heard that commotion a bit earlier and are wondering whether it's safe to return to the plains just yet. I'm sure they know that there's a lioness around. They can probably smell it. Oh, I'm having a bit of a scratch there. Not sure what it's scratching on, but no, there's lots of leadwood logs around here. There is a stump right there. Oh, what a pleasure. Nothing like a good early morning scratch after a night spent standing in the grass full of ticks and biting insects and grass seeds that cling to your fur. It's good to have a nice scratch. He's really putting his whole body into that, isn't he? And that is, of course, how they keep themselves as clean as possible from all those parasites. So the mane makes them look larger. So as an adaptation for males to look more impressive, they've got that mane that makes them look larger and more intimidating to other males. For females, I suppose it serves the same or a similar purpose, just to keep predators thinking that they're a bit larger than they are. And it's an indicator for us. We can use the mane to see whether a zebra is in good condition or not. If the mane hangs down, then it means it's not got a lot of fat in its neck, which is meaning it's running out of nutrition, hasn't got a good diet. But generally speaking, most animals that have manes, it's either to help break the outline of the animal so that they can blend better into the bushveld, or it's there to make them look larger, to intimidate rivals or to impress males. That's generally what manes are for. Beautiful colours and patterns on that zebra. I mean, not really colours, black and white and cool brownish grey, but beautiful markings, very intricate. The impala's wanting centre stage there. Also very, very handsome. I mean, the amount of rain we've had, all the antelope, all the animals that feed on grass and vegetation are as healthy as they possibly can be. I mean, I've never seen so much grass in the 10 years I've been in the Lowveld. I've never seen such abundant vegetation as I see this year. So it's really fantastic for all the animals. So I think there must be at least 2 groups of zebra here. It's a lot of zebras. There's male and female zebras here. So it's at least one harem and either a group of young males that are coming to investigate to see if they can steal some females, or it's 2 harems, 2 family groups feeding together here. So you don't often see one male with this many females. So I suspect there's more than one group here. Normally you would just see one male with maybe 4 to 5 females, and there's at least 7 or 8 zebras in this clump here. See the tail's constantly swishing. Look at the zebra on the left there, far left. It's actually missing quite a lot of its tail. Now, that's quite a normal thing that we see with with zebras because they tend to fight and bite each other's tails off. Now that's a female, so maybe she got caught in the crossfire. But anyway, no harm done. She's still looking pretty healthy. In the meantime, I'll send you over to Deirdre.
So we had a moment of panic in that the cubs thought that they nearly lost their mum. She came down the hill a little bit, and they were up on the ridge and they couldn't see her. So we had a little bit of sort of bird chirping, the little cubs panicking, calling her, and then she just answered once, and they trotted down the hill towards her, and then she's pretty much found the next closest tree with some nice shade. So she'll probably lie up here for the next while before she decides to move again. Maybe this is her resting spot for the day. She's got quite a nice view. We couldn't see what she was looking at, so she's just decided that it's now nap time. But just beautiful. So they're always, well, not always, they do tend to sleep in this position, lying flat with their head up. So the question was, will cheetah cubs recognize their mother when they get older? I would say yes, because it smells, it sounds, it looks, but very often at a distance, if they're seeing each other and haven't seen each other for a very long time, they could be potentially a little bit more nervous to approach each other and at a distance, and then they get slightly closer and closer, and then maybe recognize each other. I have seen it with leopard, and I've seen it with cheetah, where they do encounter each other after a while, and then it takes time. Both parties are nervous that the other one could be aggressive, and then they figure out it's a known individual to them, and then it could be licking, grooming, spending a little bit of time together, and then they'll both move off on their own way. So I do think that they will recognize their own offspring. When it comes to the males, it's a little bit different, because the males have no investment in helping raise the cubs, but the males would tend to recognize the female. So I think if they know that they've been with that female, mated with the female, they would then, I assume, make the assumption that those cubs would be theirs. But sometimes there is also that aggression. I know Tswalu has been showing some interactions with the males and the cubs and the females lately, and most of the cubs that they've been interacting with are all their cubs, and they've left them alone. So there must be some form of recognition amongst them. Just stunning, but you can just see how well those spots can hide them. I mean, she's lying, there's 4 cheetahs lying in probably about a 2 square meter piece of shade, and you can hardly see them at a distance, just well camouflaged under that dappled shade. So she'll pretty much either sort of move short distances, lie in the shade right throughout the day, or if she's comfortable here, that she doesn't feel that there's any threat from any other predators, she'll stay here, and you could possibly find her here in the afternoon. But also always ever on alert.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. Now we've got our own little traffic jam here for the time being. A beautiful female giraffe. I mean, just walking along the road, and quite a beautiful view. I mean, you can see the road up ahead. There's a little bit of water in the road there. You can see just in front of that giraffe. But look how she's stopped and looking. Wonder if she hasn't heard anything. But because of the level of the grass, she will be even more alert at this time of the year. She'll probably walk a little bit, turn around, listen, look. I mean, she relies mostly on her sense of sight to locate predators. doesn't really have to rely so much on her sight to locate food, because she just moves kind of between trees, browsing on them. And she is completely on her own. I mean, we did touch on this yesterday, but giraffes have got quite a loose social structure, and to almost no social structure whatsoever. They kind of have the odd little association with one another. You'll see her kind of join up with other giraffes from time to time, maybe other females particularly. I mean, she does have a reasonably big belly, so she may very likely be pregnant. And you'll see, particularly if she does give birth, she may loosely join another group of females that have other calves that are similar ages, developing no real bonds or attachments to the rest of the journey of giraffe, but having other females and other members of a journey look out for danger for you helps when it comes to trying to raise your calf. And I mean, on her own, she is quite vulnerable, and that's probably why she is so alert. I mean, even look at those ears, moving all the time, listening, and her head moving around, watching and watching. But she looks graceful. I mean, often giraffe can look quite clumsy when they walk, and if you watch her gait or the way she walks, left side, then the right side, left side, right side, it is quite unique. Not many animals have that. Hyenas have a similar gait. And you see, once again, she stopped, scanning, looking, even listening. I mean, there's a serious advantage having that long neck standing way above the level of the grass. I mean, when we saw those baboons earlier, you saw how some of them would stand on their back legs or jump to the top of that dead branch and scan. They don't have the advantage of permanently being above the level of the grass. She's also kind of veered off the road for now. I mean, with such long legs, the wet grass might not irritate her so much. Is she coming back to the road? But very similar to humans, these animals are all about the path of least resistance and the comfortability of moving. Frankie, she looks very majestic, I agree with you, and just slowly and methodically moving through, stopping every now and then, looking around, making sure that everything's fine. She's obviously got a little bit of a plan here. She hasn't stopped to feed since we started watching her. She's just moving along the road, and I mean, this is her domain. I'm going to wait for her to move off. You see, once again, stopped. Tail occasionally swishing, getting rid of some of the flies that might be frustrating her, maybe some oxpeckers I can't see from this distance. But just watching. Maybe she kind of veered off the road. Maybe there was a bit of a muddy patch. We were talking about the path of least resistance and the comfortability of maybe moving through here. This road, I mean, this giraffe won't have any idea that this is a road as we know it. They will associate this more with kind of a large game path that would have been created by other animals. And there's no grass on it. It's easy to walk on. Yes, in some areas at this time of the year there are their little puddles, but she can very easily just navigate around them, walk in the grass for a little bit. And you'll see, I mean, she stopped at this particular spot for a little bit longer than the previous spots looking. She's only been looking really to the right-hand side as well, which is quite interesting. I mean, in terms of elevation and where we are right now, the right-hand side is quite a lot lower, so she's got that extra advantage of being able to see further, which might mean, you see now she's looking on the left-hand side. She spend a bit more time looking on the left, which may be a little bit trickier to look to the left because it's raised and she hasn't got the advantage as she does when she looks to the right-hand side. She might be thinking of feeding now. She's moving off the road again. See, there is that little wet patch on the right-hand side of the road. I wonder if the road, even on the left-hand side, isn't a bit moist. And I mean, a big animal like her, she weighs an incredible amount. And even in those soft patches, she can slip and slide. And where there's no grass, it'll be extra slippery. And she will try and avoid that, in fact, because off into the mud. If she were running, I mean, a big giraffe like this is only really susceptible to predation or vulnerable to lions, really, particularly a pride of lions. They would target her. I mean, the Birmingham pride, this is in the middle of their territory. A great big giraffe like this would suit them very well, would feed 21 lions comfortably. And you'll see they'll try and chase her into maybe a thicker area or even a more slippery area. I mean, her defenses, being so tall with such big legs, is certainly a great strong kick and a well-timed kick from a giraffe can very likely be a fatal blow to a lion. And so what they'll try and do is try and chase her into a slippery area or into a steep area where she may trip up and get off of her feet, where she loses the advantage of being able to kick. She seems to have moved quite a distance away, so I'm going to keep moving and seeing what else we can find for the next few minutes. I'm going to send you somewhere else for the time being, though.
Oh, my dear, I do find you most attractive when you're covered in bird lice. Oh, Charles, I love it when you peck at my head and clean the bird lice off me. Let me say hello to Barry here. Hello, Barry. I'm just going to examine you for some bird lice. Charles, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Oh, all right. I shall look for bird lice for myself then.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
So there we go, look. All three in one frame. Look at that, isn't that cool? Oh, that is so special. That is exactly what we had been hoping for, is all three of them to come together and make the perfect little family portrait.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
That is every photographer's dream shot. That beautiful blue in the background, the light is perfect. She's got one cub next to her, the other two are probably about 2 meters away, just lying in the shade of the lavender feverberry. But just absolutely stunning. So she's still scanning around to see if there's any possibility of food. That one, there we go, and you just see that's how they disappear, gone. One little tail. Yes, come out again, please. So they'll follow wherever she goes. If they'll stay with her all the time. She's just still scanning, hoping to find some food. But can you believe this is live safari? That's why you join us every day. Oh, still a bit of a yawn. Just absolutely stunning shots coming to you from your live safari, from Phinda, Ngala, Djuma, all the different properties. It's been a really good morning. It sounds like we've had lots of amazing sightings, and don't forget to tell us what was your highlight of today, because I don't know how cute the little lion cub is. I haven't seen it myself, but these three little cheetah cubs probably run in competition with a close first. So make sure that you join us on our afternoon sunset safari at 4 o'clock Central African time. And thank you very, very much for joining us today. We'll see you later.